Hi, welcome everybody to the MumFreedomPreneurs Hangout. And today we have a very special topic. We're going to be talking about homeschooling and virtual schooling and choices on the whole matter. I recently researched all this. It was very new to me in my world because my little ones, I didn't even have to deal with it, but I did very much recently have to deal with it. And this was actually a great idea. Elizabeth, who's on the panel below, and I've got Gabrielle. Lots of folks might be popping in and out. I know Sarita can't make it tonight. Love you, hun. We'll see you on next week. I know you'll be catching us in the replay, etc., etc. And many others. Michelle, a bunch of different people. A lot of folks. I'm not sure who's coming now, but we've got us here. We're going to be talking about it. And I'm going to quickly introduce myself. Then we'll quickly introduce everybody on the panel, for those of you that this is your first time connecting with us, and then we'll get right into our topic. I am Valerie Jampolsky. I am the Abundance Mom Freedompreneur from Abundance Now. I have got twin 5-year-olds, and I usually give my usual naked kid alert because they have a tendency to not want to take their clothes off and run around, but I've set myself up so hopefully they don't squiggle onto camera that way. I'll do my best to keep them off camera, but just in case. And I used to be an entertainment attorney. I remember I was sitting there pregnant to the gills, sitting in my office with the twins and saying to myself, you know, I had a realization. I wanted to really be home with my kids, and I wanted to really make a difference in the world with what I do. And I knew that in my heart, it was not pushing papers as an attorney. It was talking about the topics that we talk about here, and just really being able to help people to see what's possible in their lives. And I'm very excited about this topic, because I've been very recently digging into it deeply, personally for me and my kids, on what to do with my kids. Oh, and Elizabeth popped off, but I'm going to go over to Gabrielle. Gabrielle, you are up. I love it.
Hey.
Right to you.
Hey. Oh, great to hear you're passionate about it, Valerie. It's really cool. I'm really looking forward to see what you're going to say. Yeah, so I'm Gabrielle Morrison. If you haven't met me or seen me on here before, I'm from England, but I live in Australia, and it's like, well, it's past 11 now because we're a little bit late today, but yeah, it's pretty late, but I stay up to connect with all you and all. Normally we have a big panel of ladies as well, but I think a lot of people are having internet issues as well because we're all over the world. I know Michelle's in Thailand right now, and she really wanted to get on, but yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, so I have two little ones, a little girl and a little boy, and they're just Seren's 4, Kai's 2. So I'm just getting into the schooling now, and I have a little different kind of view, but I'll share that with you after after Valerie's kind of talked a little bit more about the homeschooling, because yeah, I'm really keen to hear a bit more about that.
Cool. And I'm excited. I'm hoping Elizabeth will come out very soon. She was on and then she popped off, so she might be having internet issues. Because Elizabeth, she has definitely been homeschooling some of her kids, and she has a very unique take on it as well with her kids in particular. For me, living this freedom lifestyle, right? Because I'd made the determination to live with this freedom lifestyle, and for me that involves being able to every day just decide what the heck I want to do, and that also includes being able to travel, which I love to do, and being able to take the kids with me. And it's interesting because one of my boys, Jaden, has a little bit of challenges in speaking and pronunciation. So I have had him in a special class once a week, but it was together. We would go, and it would be, his brother was able to come, and it was parent participation to work with him in his pronunciation. And he just graduated from that actually this week. And technically, he would be starting kindergarten in the fall, given his age. And, they were going through this, IEP session with me and telling me that, they thought, well, they want him to be, and, they said, it's up to you what you want to do, because you can always get private assistance for help with speech and everything else. But they wanted to put him into kindergarten class that Jordan wasn't going to be able to be in. They were going to separate the twins. And there's lots of issues. Should twins be separated? Yes, no. That's a whole other topic I'm not going to get into. But at kindergarten, they're not ready to be separated. They're just not. And you know, I went, and you know, we're going to be doing another. I don't know. Can we mention? We're going to mention. We do have our. Just started our another Hangout, Sisters United Hangout, and we want to briefly mention the topic of what we're topic. Is it? Do you think, Gabrielle, we can talk about our topic for next week? Because we are. I mean, I was going to mention it.
Yeah, why not?
We're going to be talking about bullying. Okay, so something that we're going to be discussing on that Hangout. So check it out. Stay tuned for that one. You know, if you're connected to us, you'll find it. It's a Thursday, the same time slot on Thursday. Here's the thing. I was bullied, really heavily bullied as a kid, and it was in elementary school, and it started from kindergarten. And I don't want my kids to go through that. I've got massive issues and feelings about that. I don't want them to go through what I went through. And that's one piece of it. The other thing is, I was in a private school, and in that school there was the teachers had complete flexibility. They weren't tied to the public school system. So what they could teach us, they allowed us to work at our own pace. And so we were working with the teachers. We were able to grow at our own pace. And by the time I got to grade 7, I was actually at the grade 10 level. I was actually at the grade 10 level for public school. The kids that were, but I was top of my class. The kids that were above average, they ended up about a year or so, like maybe they were like grade 8 or something. And the kids that would have probably failed in normal public school were at par level with where they should be. So the kids that would have fallen out of the system were actually doing okay. And those of us that had the ability to move at a faster rate, we were moving faster because we were able to do things at our own pace. And so it was a powerful lesson for me in that, you know, learning that, you know, the public school system may or may not, you know, when you have the ability to work at a different rate, those that may need extra assistance will thrive better, and those that are advanced will thrive better, at least on that end. On the socialization end, it was really hard for me to be at a school, and I've been looking about this. What should I do? What should I do? And I'm going to give a big shout out to Melissa Connect, because she's another woman in our community that homeschools her kids. And I reached out to her, and I said, and she's also a blogger. And I was like, you know, I'm sure you've written stuff about this. And so she sent me a bunch of. She says, yes, I have, and she gave me a bunch of her blogs to look at and guided me to what she's using with her kids. And I didn't realize, but there's a lot of different options. There's homeschooling. And then there's virtual school, and they're different. And even within homeschooling, they're different. And a lot of people don't realize homeschooling is where you actually, you're providing the curriculum. You're doing everything, right? Virtual school is where they are doing their school from home or from wherever you happen to be, like us. If we're traveling, like Michelle, she's, you know, they're in whatever, they're in Thailand now, and they're like people all over the world. Their virtual school is where you connect with teachers online and with your classmates online, where you can be part of a virtual classroom, literally on camera, right, for live virtual classes. Or if you miss them, you can do, what do you call it? You can catch the replay, just like those of you that might be watching this on the replay, and some of you might be watching it live. Same idea, right? Except it's very interactive. They're actually on camera, like communicating with the teachers, and then they also get together because it's done locally with some of the bigger ones, like where I've just connected in with Connections Academy, connectionsacademy.com for anybody who wants to check it out. It's free. It's actually free public virtual school. So it's public, but it's a much more. It's not as many kids per teacher. They get a lot more one-on-one because they do have access directly with their teachers. And if they are, they can advance faster than what's in front of them. It's possible. But they also have more connection, and they actually do have, you know, field trips and outings and all this stuff where there's a chance to physically meet in person with the kids that you're that are in the class, in the virtual class, like locally, because it's done kind of in a local way. But it also, they have clubs where, you know, the kids get to interact with each other all the way, especially when you start getting to the higher grades when they can actually be on the computer themselves, but they get to interact with the other kids. And it allows, and it was interesting, I was reading these posts, that these blog posts that she was writing, and she did this one really funny post where, you know, these two moms and they're sitting in a park, and one of them is talking to the other one, and you know, they're and the homeschooling mom or the virtual schooling mom, because you know they're there a lot, they're often there during the day, and they can go to like museums, they can do all kinds of different stuff with their kids and be out in real life, and it's talking to the other mom, the non-homeschooling mom, saying, aren't you worried about socialization? I mean, that your kids aren't going to be like, you know, they're only going to be stuck with kids their own age, and they're not going to be connecting with other children of other ages, and really, you know, connecting with adults and learning how to communicate with adults in a real way. And, you know, aren't you worried about, you know, the types of atmosphere that they're around at that public school, and you know, a lot of those kids that are not, you know, a lot of them that they don't have, you know, in terms of what socialization is happening with their parents at home, et cetera, et cetera. It was sort of like the reverse idea on socialization, that there's very powerful socialization advantages to being able to have more time in your day to actually be there with your kids. One thing that I realized is that a lot of time is like wasted time. I mean, in this special class that we took, it was held in a kindergarten classroom. And because we would be there after hours to do this special class, and I would look at their schedule on the board because they had it up there. And the actual teaching time was about 45 minutes. The kids had to be there from 8 a.m. till 2:30 p.m. But it was, you know, mostly, you know, free time and food time and this time and that. The only actual part where they were teaching was a 45-minute piece. The actual, I mean, looking at the actual schedule of what they had up there. And the rest of it was just more like running around time. And I thought, you know, I can schedule play, you know, I can do play dates, I can do a lot of different things. And it was an interesting thing. And then also, you know, meeting and talking to, I've met a lot of kids that have been homeschooled or virtual schooled. I mean, depending on, you know, a lot of people that are homeschooled, they do it for religious reasons. They want their religious perspectives conveyed to their kids. But anyways, that was just I know, oh great, Elizabeth's on live now because she's actually been doing this, so she can speak to it. I'm talking about more what I have researched and what I have, and speaking to other moms that have done this and what they've done in their experience. And I'll just be straight up honest. I made the decision. I said, heck with it. And I've got them signed up with Connections Academy as of last week. It was the coolest thing ever. I did it online, and the very next day someone called me to welcome me, making sure, because I got to give them certain documentation and stuff like that, and making sure that I got everything that I needed to get connected up. But it was just like a big sigh of relief of oh my God, I have freedom, because, you know, frankly, this wouldn't even be able to, sorry.
Yeah. Awesome.
You know, so I would have to be schlepping the kids to kindergarten, honestly. It was like, you know, my kids can get, you know.
Yeah,
like,
it's really difficult.
Yeah, our kids wake up when they wake up, and, you know, they're not rushing off just to get to school. They're not waking up at 6:30 in the morning. They wake up when they can wake up. They have a full breakfast, and then they sit down and they do their virtual school thing, and then, you know, or they might decide one day, you know what, we're going to go to a museum today, or we're going to do this today, and they'll do their school piece on Saturday instead. You know, it's like, it's adjustable. There's just like, I mean, you know, and if there's certain lessons that the parents don't believe in, or they think that, you know, they don't agree with some of the topics that might be coming up, you don't have your kids, you can choose what your kids are actually accessing. It was cool to find out all this, it was my big learning curve of what I just learned in the last week, just before, you know, we came up with this. But anyways, I want to pass it over now. Elizabeth, you are on. Yay, you're on with us. Do we have sound? You're up?
Hi, now I have sound. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yay!
So we've already done introductions. Would love to hear, because I know this was your idea, and you're actually living and breathing it.
Actually, it wasn't my idea. It was Agnes's idea, and we've gone back and forth between public school and cyber schooling and homeschooling the kids several times. It depends on what the situation is at the time. Doing the homeschooling via the cyber school. The reason we did it was my daughter Katie is autistic, and we came across a teacher in our home district, her main teacher, that was just antagonizing her and getting her very upset in school, to the point where I had to show up in school every single day to calm her down, because this woman was getting her so upset that she was throwing chairs and she was throwing books, and they had to evacuate the classroom because this woman felt that she didn't have to listen to what the needs of the kids were. She went to school to teach special needs children, and she knew better than everybody else. So this was out of necessity. My daughter was so traumatized she did not want to go back to school. She is a very smart girl. The problem with her with the autism is she can understand everything that's going on around her. She can't just get the stuff from the right side of the brain to the left side of the brain to explain what she's feeling and how she's responding to you. And so it's very frustrating for her. But we actually had to take her out of school for her safety and for the safety of everybody else in class. And we went looking around, and the one we went to was PAVCS, which is Pennsylvania Virtual Charter School. And I have to say it was the most wonderful experience we could possibly have. Not only were the high school classes on the computer, which the parents can sit in on, they had the interactive conversations on the side, just like we do in the Hangouts. If Katie was having trouble understanding what was being taught, the teachers would actually sit down with me after the class, do a separate class for her, or help me teach her how to do it. She got A's in all of her classes, every single class, which had never happened before. And she really learned everything that they possibly had to do: math, history, English. She wrote essays. She read books. They were doing Romeo and Juliet, and we went and we found the graphic novel for Romeo and Juliet, and she was able to follow along because with a lot of the kids with autism, they don't understand concepts. So if you tell them over or under, unless they're seeing it as you're saying it, they don't get it. So with the graphic novels, she could be reading Romeo and Juliet, which normal kids have problems with because of the way Shakespeare talks, but she'd be seeing it, all the exact same words in the book, and she'd see how they were drawing it out and understand what the situation was going on at the same time. So for us, a single 6-hour day usually ended up being 12 hours. But she thrived. She absolutely thrived doing it. And the only reason that she ended up going back to the public school at all was because both Kendall and Norris got really sick at the same time. And I had to take them back and forth to different hospitals and different doctors. Kendall started having seizures, and Norris started having full body tremors. And I couldn't spend the 12 hours a day taking care of the educational aspect with her. But a couple years later, we did it with Kendall also. And she loved the classes that were taught by the teachers online. She was not as responsive with me. So she ended up going back after 6 months because I didn't want her failing out of some of the classes that didn't have the teacher. But it's different for every person. You know, I have one friend that has homeschooled 11 children. 11 kids she's homeschooled from the very beginning all the way up to going to college. And they're all phenomenally smart. They're all wonderful people. They're very involved with the community. And, you know, it's what is able and available for each of the individual people looking to do this. Because if you can get the kids to pay attention and get them to participate the way that you want them to with you alone, like my kids were in public school for so long that they didn't want to listen to me. You know, Katie was wonderful. Kendall, not so much. And but Denise had done it from the beginning and had phenomenal results. I mean, her kids have gone on to do so many great things. It's unbelievable. But you have to figure out, you pick and choose. She homeschools with books. She doesn't use the computer. She gets all her texts and everything herself, and she teaches them from the text. There are some parents that do half the text and half computer. Some of them that just do the computer aspect with the teachers online. K-12, I think Valerie was talking about K-12. They are the main provider for cyber learning, and they have phenomenal programs. These kids get so advanced in these programs. They can go as fast as they want to go, you know.
Yeah, this one was actually called, it goes from K to 12, but this one was actually called connectionsacademy.com.
Okay.
Yeah, same idea. Yeah, just to be able to go. And it was interesting. I was watching. I took a look. There was this one. What was it? Kevin and Melissa. They did a video with their son, who it was grade 8 at the time, and they sent a box. And this is free too. It was like totally free. They sent a box for his school year. And they said, okay, let's open up the box and see what's in the box. And they just sent it to them. It's just like it was free supplies like you would at any school. And there were books, there was art supplies, there were like, you know, test tubes and petri dishes and stuff to do science stuff. I mean, they, you know, goggles. I mean, they literally sent this full-on box full of everything from textbooks to art supplies to science equipment to all the various things that they would actually need to utilize during the school year. It came for free in a big box, and he opened it up like it was Christmas, going, "Oh, look what's in the box!"
Well, it's not actually free. What it is that they take everybody that pays taxes for where they live.
Right.
Those taxes that go to the normal school district, as soon as you transfer into one of these schools, they have that information when you sign up for it, and they take that information, and your taxes, instead of going to the public school, actually end up going to the school that you're getting your supplies from.
Right.
So you don't have to pay out of your pocket, but it's coming from your taxes.
Yeah, it is. It's coming from taxes, but the point is we've all been paying taxes for years and years and years for our schooling system. It's not like somebody that decides that they want to do this, that they have to come up with the money for all these supplies, is my point.
No, that's true.
Coming out of your, you know, your taxes that you've been paying as a citizen for, or as you know, me, a registered alien, for many, many, many years. Which I am. I'm Canadian. Here's my green card, you know, for now. So, but yeah, but I'm just saying it's not additional resources out of the pocket for somebody. Like, so if somebody, you know what I'm saying? Because that might be a concern going, oh wow, I have to come up with all this extra, you know, they provide, which I thought was really cool. It was amazing, you know, the kinds of things that they do provide.
Well, another
the homeschooling sounds like it's pretty awesome because you can travel and you can choose where you want to be and what you want to do, and like you said, like switch up the days of the week and, you know, make it really fit around you. I never even imagined even sort of contemplating homeschooling until I actually joined this business. I mean, you join a business and you end up I think because you grow so much as a person, and I've started believing in myself and feeling confident that I could actually do something like that, whereas before it just never would have happened. But like I've got them enrolled in school. I want them to go to school at the moment, but you know, who knows? But I knew I didn't want them to go to a regular school because, you know, like I also, when I was young, I was bullied at school, and I don't have great memories of school. I actually hated school, and I wasn't very academic. I just thought like, you know, I didn't want my kids to have to go through that. Like, all I wanted to do was leave school, basically, and I just didn't enjoy it. So I knew when I was choosing their school, like, it had to be something different. And I've actually headed for like Steiner School. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but they teach in a different way, and it's more creative. It's about arts, and it's a lot about stories. Like, they teach through stories, and they kind of teach in a holistic way for the child, and I just found it fascinating. Like, I just kind of stumbled across this open day and went into this school, and I was just like, it's like a magical fairyland. It was just so awesome. They're very much like keeping the children as children, you know, for as long as possible, and, you know, not putting the pressure of like learning too fast, and they end up like with a really broad range of skills because they learn through these stories, so that it opens up their mind a bit more. And this is what I'm loving this school. Like, Saren's just at kindy, and again, it's very slow. Like, playgroup is from 2 to 3, and they just do 1 afternoon a week, and then kindy is just two afternoons or 2 mornings a week. So you're not leaving them all day. And that's for another year she's doing that. And I know when she's 5, they're still not doing full days. It's still half days, because they're very much into the connection with you, you know, with being with their parents and keeping that so still till the 7, they're not going in for a full day. So I really love it so far. But I also love that now that, you know, if it didn't work out, that I would definitely be confident to do something from home and have the support of all you as well. So yeah, it's really cool to listen.
That's so cool. Yeah, I would. I mean, I'll be honest. If they could have given me for the speech program something that was like only a couple of days a week for like a few hours, that would have been different. But yeah, and even then, I mean, as it is, I've missed a lot of it because I travel with them, right? And there was no way to make it up. Like when I would take exactly extras, you know, that I can take with me. I mean, it was a real challenge. Even with that, so, but I think that's, you know, because it depends what your lifestyle is. With Freedompreneur lifestyle, you've got options. It's like that's your kid. Cool. But that sounds amazing. I mean, and then I think of like Rhonda, right? I mean, they've put it to Hanalei what her choices are, and she goes to school, but it's on purpose to get access to the culture because they're living in all these different cultures. So there's so many different, but again, they're traveling, so they can, you know. That's just something that they've chosen to do, so she can be connected to the different cultures that they're living with, which is really cool. It's like it's all choices about where you are and what you're doing. Like if I was going to be, you know, taking the kids and traveling for chunks of time, I might do the same thing temporarily for a short time, put them somewhere so that they can access the culture with the other kids. But the cool part is it's just I love that there are choices, and a lot of people don't even know that there are choices. You know, that there are options that don't involve being, you know, for me it was like being at prison. It was horrible. I love the schooling part of it, but talk about the socialization part, that part for me, it was horrifying what I went through socialization-wise. It was not a positive socialization experience for me. If anything, it was completely and utterly disempowering. And I'm going to just be straight up honest. I mean, because of what happened to me with those kids at that school, and I begged to be taken out of the school, begged, because it was horrible. Every day there was horrible for me emotionally. At age 10, I attempted suicide. You know, and it was it's. You know, I just would never wish that on my worst enemy. I don't have enemies, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, it's a saying, but it's like, it's a lot of, you know, and a lot of the teachers that are there are not happy. A lot of them are not. And the way that they communicate with the kids is not, I mean, there are certain schools, like different schools are different. Like I love what you're talking about there, sounds amazing. But for a lot of folks, sometimes those things really, like really, like it's like sending him to college, the price to go to those schools as well, a lot of them. And again, you have to kind of take a look at what are the kids like that are there. You know, I don't know, like there's this whole thought of a lot of times people use school as a way to just keep the kids busy while they're working. It's kind of like glorified babysitter. Go to school, like send them off to school. And if they don't want to be bothered with it, and then with, you know, and the parents are working, and the kids, even after, they go from there into after school programs or something, and they don't get the connection. They're not having the same kind of time and connection with their parents. And I mean, a lot of parents, you know, they do their best when they come home and they're spending their focused energy, but a lot of kids don't. They don't. And so you've got kids that are not being parented with the attention that would be better, and so their way of being in the world is going to be different. And they're the type, I don't know if I want my kids socializing around that, to be honest.
I know when Katie was doing the cyber schooling, one of the really nice things about it is even though we're doing a lot of the lessons and everything from home, there was a whole cooperative of parents that were doing this together. And every single week there was a different trip. Every single week there were things that the kids could do, and we as parents could go with them, and they got to interact with the other kids. There's still a phys ed requirement, but Katie was in dance class for 4 hours a week. So that filled her phys ed requirement. And I loved the trips that she was going on so much that our public school was actually cutting down the trips that they were doing. So we would just get an educational trip form from the public school, and I'd put in the information for the trip for the cyber school, and send it in to them 2 weeks in advance, and I'd take all my kids to the trip for the cyber school. They got mad at me.
Awesome.
They didn't like that I was pulling them out of school, but I felt they were learning more on these educational trips than they were learning being locked up in a classroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though we're not doing the cyber schooling right now, I still turn around and I get the educational trip form and I fill it out. And several times a year, I just pull my kids out of school and we go off for a jaunt. And they just turn around, they learn the stuff, they write up a little report, and they're good to go.
Woohoo! And Greta,
Yay, Greta.
Greta, you're on. Greta, I think you might have 2 pages open because we were hearing the echo. Oh, you got the phone. Yeah, maybe I have to take it off the phone. Greta, come on out. You are a homeschooling mama.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First, everybody, for folks that don't know you, so everybody that comes on here, maybe on for the first time, knows who you are.
Yes. Yeah, so my name is Greta Campagnolo. I don't have my little name up there yet. I just, I slept in. I really actually wanted to be on this hangout today, obviously, because of the topic. It's near and dear to my heart. And I had an amazing day yesterday. It was just so amazing with my kids and just present in this, I don't know, it was just this moment that I will remember for a very long time. And I ended up, last night the kids were just so busy all day and we were knocked out, and although they were really busy, they were still up in the night. And I know those of you watching, if you're a mom, you know what it's like to have those nights where you're like literally woken up every 5 seconds. And it's just, I feel like I'm in a daze. My hair is like a total mess. I rolled out of bed. I was like, oh my God, it's 8:15. They're on the hangout, and the kids were, just waking up. Some of mine are still sleeping. I have half a dozen kids, so there's kids all over the place, and yes, I'm a homeschooling mom. I should say unschooling mom. So I have a different perspective to go on as well, and so I'm just trying to gather my brain, but I've been sitting there walking around, changing diapers, getting the kids all sort of the little ones that were up with me today, sort of ready, and I was in the bathroom and had my phone listening to the hangout, and it's just been really, really wonderful to listen to all of you and to even have some more new information. It's just always constantly, this is the whole thing about life, and makes me realize, it's just another point where people think that you have to be in school in order to learn things. People think that if you don't go to school, you're not learning. People think that if you're homeschooling or if you're unschooling, that you're not being responsible because your kids aren't learning all those set things that, they've been teaching for I don't know how many years. It just seems like the public schools, at least where I live in Canada on Vancouver Island, and it just seems like everybody's learning the same stuff that I learned when I went to school, that my parents learned when they went to school, and it's like, times are changing. We got to change up what kids are learning here. We've got to, to me, it just goes hand in hand. When life is moving, when the world is changing, we have to change things up a little. And I'm not too impressed about the schools where I am. I did do I think Gabrielle was talking about Waldorf. I'm not sure. Were you talking about Waldorf?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I went that route as well, and I had my kids involved in a lot of Waldorf stuff, and I love the whole philosophy of Waldorf, Rudolf Steiner's teachings, and so a lot of that, because I was heavily influenced with that, and have a very good friend who was educated in Germany at the Rudolf Steiner School. I have a lot of that influence as well. As far as what I do, like I said, I'm an unschooling mom, so we basically just learn through play, and when things come up, they have an interest in something, they read like crazy, and anything that pops up into their little minds that they want to learn, or we have access. I mean, we have the internet, so we can look things up as they come, as they pop into their minds, and we spend a lot of time outdoors, a lot of time playing, and I have a little one talking in here with me, eating and cooking, and just really basically my whole thing about having them at home is to really harness who they are as unique individuals, and giving that safe space to be accepted, acknowledged, and nurtured for who they are as unique individuals, and to really be able to see what each of the strengths are. You want to say hi? No. This is River, my 3-year-old, soon to be 4, pretty crazy. But yeah, so that's my whole.
I'd love to know a little bit about your day, Greta.
Yeah.
About my day.
Yeah, your day. Like, what would be your day as an unschooling mom? How would that look? For folks.
A lot of time in the kitchen. There's a lot of time in the kitchen. With that many kids, they eat all the time, so we're in the kitchen a lot. My kids are 13, 10, 9, 6, 3, and 19 months. So there's a wide range, and we all sort of move together. Like there's an awesome flow between us, between helping. Their ears and eyes and hearts are always open for each other, which I absolutely love as well. It gives them that. There's not sort of one person, like they're all. I like to see them all sort of leading in their own way. They all have their places where they're able to, be that leader for themselves. So, sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and breakfast will already be made, and, like my daughter will be down there and she'll have everything set up, and it's like that moment for herself where she's like, just this proud moment where she can share everything. We obviously do our, not obviously, but Valerie had shared the Oath of Manifestation on this hangout, I don't know, months ago now, and we have adopted that into our lives and share that at breakfast time and dinner time with each other. We do it together, recite it together, and we also have our own blessing to the earth and the sun and everything, just blessings on our food, and we, like I said, we spend a lot of times outdoors, so we have a lot of beach days, depending on the weather, what's going on with the weather. And my kids, 4 of my kids are in dance. 3 of them are in intensive dance, so there's a lot going on with that. So when we go down to the beach, we're exploring the beach, but my kids also love to busk. So they will be there down at the beach, and just, it's amazing. It's actually really amazing, because when I was a kid, I was a dancer too. I was into dance and everything. But to get me up there in front of like all the beach goers and all those people out there, and to just like sing my heart out or dance my heart out or just perform like nobody's watching, for me that's like so amazing. They get to do what they absolutely love to do, and so that's on our agenda today. That's the mission for my older son. There were some things that
I want to see a video of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to make some room on my phone, because I am like a picture taken crazy fool. I just like can't get enough of like photos of them all day long, and there's so many of them. It's like, do you remember like, I don't know what it's like for you, but I look back at, you know, the albums from when we were kids, from when I was a kid, and I have my picture album, and it has about, I don't know, maybe 10 photos of me in the album. And then there's my sisters, and there's like a whole bunch, and then she was the first, and then my brother, you know, he had a little bit more, and then my sister was in there too, and yeah, so it's like, it's so easy to just snap all these pictures now. Now it's not so much that way. I think we have, like, oh my gosh, so many pictures. It's crazy. So yeah, just exploring, you know, they like fossil hunting and panning for gold and doing all these types of explorative things. So they exploration things. So they love all of that. And he's showing you a sprinkler. we won a basket, didn't we? Did we win a basket? Yeah, a gardening basket. So we garden too. We have our gardens that we like to do. We grow food at Grandma and Grandpa's house, and we grow flowers and such in our gardens here. And you know, a lot of what we like to do is just to, I like to empower my children here at home and to have them go out into the world and help empower other children that we meet along the way. Okay, yes, these are seeds. Grass seeds, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, you know, we've had
unschooling and acting.
I like to call it play schooling, because we learn through play, and as far as the socialization goes, I don't feel like I don't really like the word very much either, but
The old guy?
the old guy? How about you tell me about that in like a few more moments? While Mama finishes sharing my bedhead with my bedhead. No, so as far as that goes, I was before I had so many kids, I felt that way as well, as far as, you know, socialization goes, and I was worried that that my daughter wasn't gonna have, you know, the social skills and everything, but you know, they learn that when they're home with us. They, you know, and why not be able to really know what they're being influenced by? And it's just a natural thing that happens. You know, you don't have to teach it. You know, it's not something that you really have to teach. It's like what are your values? What are your core values? What do you want to show your children, and what types of communication do you have at home, and what's important to you, and just sharing that with them and being able to just be a big part of that, rather than them being influenced by their peers at such a young influential age. It's I like being able to have a hand on that, and being able to, like you were saying, Valerie, really be, yes, cashews. Really be able to have control over that. It's important to me who they're influenced by, and you know, there's so much internal bullying that happens that in the public school system, it just gets swept under the rug constantly. And I've had to deal with that even at their dance school recently, and it's making me be a stronger, more assertive mom. I have a hard time with confrontation and all those sorts of things, and now it's just like, if something comes up, I know that I need to use that part of myself that everybody has. We don't always show, but from that, you know, it's so important to be able to utilize that, and utilize just our voice when things like that come up for our kids. And being a mom And being an unschooling mom, having my kids at home, learning to adapt and communicate with different personalities because they're all different, has been the best education that I could ever ask for in my life. I have learned more from them than any school I ever went to or anything like that. I went to a private school, I went to private public schools, I did correspondence myself and all these sorts of things. I just feel like I want to fill their brains with the things that matter to them rather than what matters to, the Ministry of Education or whatever, like things that are just, that they will probably never use. There's so much fluff, I feel. And why not just fill it with the things that they love, that they're passionate about, that will carry them through their lives, that will give them that empowering feeling and that voice. So I know I've blabbed on. I probably went through all these different things. Like I said, I just rolled out of bed, and I was so excited to see you guys, ladies, on and sharing, and I wanted to come on out and just share my perspective as well, because I think I'm the only unschooler in this group. And there are so many different ways, and whatever works for you and your family is what I feel is best. I feel like our children choose us for a reason, and that there's something, we all have exactly what our kids need in order to make that happen. So.
Yeah, that's so cool. And that's the other thing, I forgot about that. There's a whole other way called unschooling. There's like so many choices. A lot of folks have no clue of the options. Have absolutely no clue. I sure didn't. I just thought you had to go to a school. It was actually, there were some things in the history of the actual creation of a physical school location that kids go to was something that was, I heard, was created by, the big factories. I think it was something in Europe that started the big factories, that they created this place so that the factory workers, the men and the women, would be working in these factories, and their kids could be put somewhere during the day and get their.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they're taught in the factory schools about how to listen to whatever the teacher says to do, and you're obedient.
Well, I think a big part
in the factory world, the slavery world, frankly. I don't know. I could be like, I'm just speaking my,
Yeah, it probably didn't start in a very good place, but.
Well, I think that like now in the schools, a lot of the problems that the parents are finding that they don't like is that the kids are being taught to sit still. They're being taught to just regurgitate facts to pass a test.
Yeah.
They're not learning enough to keep in their heads. How many times do you go to the stores now and the kids have the cash registers changing the money for them because they can't figure out how to do it?
Yeah.
And, with all the stuff that they're doing, my little one goes to public school, but when she comes home, we go over her lessons, and she has to physically do the work that they're telling her to do on the calculators. She can use the calculator in school. I want her to know how to do this because this is just a life skill. And they're glossing over so many of these things. And then they also have the obesity issue where they're blaming the parents for kids gaining too much weight, but yet they've taken away all the physical activities. They're keeping them sedentary, wondering why they're bouncing off the walls, saying that they all have ADHD, which they don't have. They're just being cooped up. And,
I don't even want to think about what they get fed. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, Elena, the lunch lady told us a couple years ago not even to bother with the school lunch, send her in with her own lunch because the stuff is nasty. She gets twice as much to eat as anybody else in that cafeteria, and she still comes home hungry. But, she turns around, and my kids went to dance classes like Greta's kids are doing. Kendall was up to 8+ hours a week of dance classes that she was doing because she just loved it that much. And they're so physically active that it actually helps their minds work and compute and do these things. And yet the schools are making them sedentary. And then, they want to know why they're hyper. They want to know why they're gaining weight. And they're blaming it on all these foods when they're giving them those foods themselves. And They try to blame all these outside influences, which is why if you're doing the public school, which we do both, we've done both off and on, but when we first moved to our school district, they're like, oh, wow, an involved parent. This is so wonderful. Do you hear my daughter? She's sitting there in the background going, oh, no, it's her again. You know, I'm the parent that turns around. I refuse to sign the general statements for the schools where you accept all the rules. If there's a rule that's going to be broken, you come to me. You deal with me, not my child. It is against the law for you. I don't sign in loco parentis. I don't sign anything. And they have to go through me. And they're like, oh, our lawyer says, well, your lawyer, go tell them. I crossed this out. I'm not giving you in loco parentis. You come through me. My kids are my responsibility, not yours. If you have a problem, and they thought I was just trying to protect them from being punished from things, I'm the first one that I caught my son getting around the computer safeties on the school district, and I brought him to the vice principal. You know, I turned around and we sat down and we dealt with the whole thing. It wasn't the snap dab punishment that the school came up with, but he understood that he broke the rules of the school and that, you know, he had to make amends for breaking those rules. I don't expect my kids not to be held accountable. I expect them to be held accountable for what they do, but I don't want them held accountable for things that they haven't done. And too many times the parents in public schools now just see a pamphlet and they sign off on it and they don't even know what they're signing. They really don't. They don't take the time to see what they're signing off on, what these punishments are, how these bills are going to come out at them. And they really need to take those 3 hours when the beginning of the school year comes by and go through and cross out what they don't want and initial what they do want, because these schools need to know that they're going to be held accountable by the parents, not the parents being held accountable by the schools. The schools are there to help with the education. And unfortunately, the way it is now, we're supplementing constantly. I mean, there isn't a week where my kids don't do stuff outside of public school, and they learn more with me than I feel that they do in the public school. But right now, Kendall needs that structure. She does better with that structure than she does without it. Katie still learns a whole bunch of stuff with me. Elena, we went to the steampunk fair this weekend. We're going to be doing Renaissance fairs. We go to the different parks. We learn about millinery work. We learn about the different, see, I'm going blank here, the different smiths, the different tools and trades that people can do. And sometimes it's just easier if they can go and look and see what it is instead of just sitting there and be given a book. How interesting. I mean, I love writing. I love bringing people into the stories as I'm writing, but textbooks aren't written that way anymore. So these kids are getting bored, and the whole point is to engage them in the learning. So if you're doing public school and you know what they're studying, you need to foster that at home by bringing in parts of those subjects at home. If you're homeschooling, you can be as interactive as you want. That's the really cool part about it. There is not a single thing that you do that cannot be counted as a lesson. And I just think that that's, I mean, we go back and forth, and I'm glad that there are plenty of people that don't have to worry about that. They can either homeschool or they can do public or whatever, but we do both. And I think that they do much better, and my kids are, they push the envelope. They definitely push the envelope. They question everything. They question authority. And sometimes that backfires on them a little bit. But the fact of the matter is that by questioning authority, they can make their own opinions. They can turn around and prove or disprove whether those things that they're being exposed to are right and just or harmful. And they have the ability to make those decisions for themselves. They're not being told to make those decisions. And it probably frustrates a lot of their teachers. I know I've gotten notes, but then I have a whole bunch of other teachers that turn around and say, your kids are the most proactive in the area. They're the most smart, most all-encompassing kids. They take care of the other kids in the schools. They help teach them. So I must be doing something right, because you know what? Otherwise, I'd be getting notices telling me that my kids aren't achieving anything, and they blow the tests off the board.
And I love it, and that's. I was so excited about the, you know, from when we were doing this hangout, because between you, Greta, and Elizabeth, just being like actual proof of, you know, of all of this, like living experience of it. I just, for me, it's theory and talking to people, but to have you guys come out and be able to speak on it is just so.
I'm glad Greta came because I wasn't sure I was a good source. So.
It's cool because we all come to things from our own decisions, about what we need and what's right for us. I mean, and it's I think, I guess for me, I was like, what's my intention? I was like set an intention for a hangout, and for this, I really want, for those of you guys watching this, and I would love to check in. Let's go check in. I know we're almost getting close to the end of the hour, and I want to be more interactive. We're gonna be much more interactive.
What I am seeing, let me scroll down a little bit.
Because I promise we're gonna be way more interactive in the next hangout. Promise.
I know that there's parents that are concerned about the public schools and that are looking to explore homeschooling, but they don't know where to start to find the appropriate programs. I know for me, I went online and actually did the searches. Like I said before, the K-12 company, they do a lot of educational software and books and computers and all of that, and you can pick the levels that you go to. They have foreign languages. They have all these different programs that are even up to college level. And as your kids progress through them, they can go as fast as they want. You don't have to stick them behind a curricular schedule. If they want to learn and they eat it up, let them eat it up. Why should you turn around and stagnate your child? I think the biggest compliment I ever got, my son was in the hospital, and he was about 8 years old, and the nurse was trying to tell him what she was going to do. And as you know, my kids all have medical issues. So this nurse is going about doing what she's doing, and my son turns around at 8 years old. That's not how you do that. You need to do A, B, C, D. And she's getting very angry because here this 8-year-old is telling her that she's doing her job wrong. And he's looking at me, and he's like, Mom, tell her she's not doing it right. And she turns around, she goes, I need to talk to you. She pulls me outside the door, and she goes, you talk too much in front of your son. I can't believe that he has the audacity to turn around and say this to me. And she's going off. I said, excuse me. First of all, you don't have the right to admonish me for my son being smarter than you. Second of all, if my child has a question, I am going to answer it. I am not going to stall him. I am not going to stagnate him. If I don't have the ability to answer that question, I'm going to find the answer. And if I can't find the answer, I'm going to have someone else who knows the answer come and talk to my child. You may promote ignorance in your household, but I sure as hell don't promote ignorance in mine. They switched nurses right after that. Just my kids have always been very precocious. They've always been very inquisitive. And you know what? How else are they going to learn if we don't foster that? And just because someone's insecure with that doesn't mean that they have the right to diminish your ability to teach your child and let them learn about the world around them.
Elizabeth, I love you. I love that you stand up for your kids. I love it. I just love it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I can't believe you were even thinking that you wouldn't be the right source to be on this hangout, because you have just provided, every time you speak and share and all the stuff that you do for your kids, it's so inspiring, and I am just so grateful that I've been able to come across, that we have crossed paths, because I'm constantly learning from you, Elizabeth. I'm constantly learning from all of you women, on this hangout. Like, there's so many more that are usually on with us today, and like, it's just amazing. I'm grateful, full of gratitude for all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I love listening to all the stuff that you're doing with your kids, because I learned so much just from listening to you. And when this hangout came up and everybody's like, Elizabeth, I'm like, no, Greta.
I love it.
Absolutely.
And shout out to Agnes for the idea. So I want to let everybody know there's a couple of things. You can go to connectionsacademy.com. That's one if you're in the U.S. And for wherever you are in the world, just Google it. But connectionsacademy.com. And what's the other? Is it K12.com? Like the number K12.
Yeah, I believe they have K12.com, and most of the cyber schools, their information directly from K12.
Yeah, and you can Google it, and you can Google it too, like where you can find other localized programs as well.
There are a lot of different ones. There
Yeah.
really are. And there are homeschooling cooperatives in almost every community. You can just look up a local homeschooling cooperative. The unschooling, like Greta was saying, then they've got the schools of the arts, and then there are natural schools. It's amazing, all the different avenues and things that you can find. There's one in Allentown, which I would have loved to have my kids attend, where most of their classes are outside. They do the academics that are similar to the public schools, but they do so much more work with them, and everything is interactive and hands-on.
That's cool. And the other thing too you can do is you can Google, and if you're Google Meetups, and oftentimes if you type in like homeschooling meetup or unschooling meetup, you can find other parents, other families in the area that are doing that and have an additional connection point of just localized groups of parents that you can connect up with. I mean, I just did a quick search and was blown away by what was just available locally. And there might be, or you can even start it yourself in your area too. You can start a meetup and start gathering. But I've noticed, I mean, because you can more speak to this, but I'm assuming once we start this, I mean, I'm going to be connecting with all these other parents and kids that are there, and it's easy enough if we can to sort of like start our on top of what the school is doing. If you want to have Facebook chats or connections and ways to get together and all that it's very easy to actually create, because you'll have access to that community via the system. So lots of different options. Gabrielle, can you look on the page, see if there's anything there, if you have any thoughts as well on this? Do you see anybody else commenting on the page?
I'm not logged onto the page. Hold on.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I hope everyone gets lots of value from it, because it's just nice getting everyone's point of view and seeing what we're all doing, and just knowing that you can do anything you want, and that's what we all want the freedom lifestyle, and that can mean anything to all of us. So choose what you want it to mean.
Yeah.
Today, funny enough, I'm in New Jersey. I'm not even home. I slept over my girlfriend's house in New Jersey. We were at the beach yesterday. The day before, we were at the steampunk fair, and we're going to be running around until tonight. And so that's why it's not a familiar background here, because I'm not even home, and my kids are here with me. So,
It's great.
There's a couple of people asking like where to get the information from, so we've shared that. And a couple saying that they do it. I think Joe and Dion. Hi ladies, sorry I just popped on here. We homeschool too. Not always a walk in the park, but it's so worth it.
You just said that?
They've joined the names. I think Joe and Dizon.
Oh.
It's just they haven't put their name as their name. It's like hi ladies, my kids go to school, but sometimes I often think about homeschooling. But the kids actually love going to school at the moment, so I'm happy to keep it this way. But I would definitely be open to looking into it if it should arise one day. I think it's just letting people know and just reminding them that they do have options. It's just really awesome. Yes.
Well, and if you're
Michelle.
Yeah, and if you're watching this in the replay, please comment. Please comment in the chat, because we do keep the conversation flowing on this. So don't feel like if you're watching this replay, time zones, whatever, please let us know your thoughts, any suggestions, or of a great community, or just anything that you want to contribute into the conversation, because we will be watching on the page for that. So. Well, we're getting past it. It's been about an hour. We started a little bit late. So, something funny going on in the background for you, Greta. So if there's any other last thoughts, any ladies here you want to throw in any last thoughts? Otherwise, we're going to move on. Anything? Elizabeth, Gabrielle, Greta?
I think that they should just not accept what they're supposed to be doing with homes and with schooling, that they need to question what they feel is best for their child and supplement in whatever fashion that they need to do, because no one's going to educate their child better than them.
Yeah.
I agree. Trust your instincts.
Yeah, that's the crowd.
Yeah. Very, very, very cool. And I love you all. And for those of you, if you want to know how to connect with us, you're just finding us, there is buttons below. When you click on them, it's going to take you through into the system that we use that allows us to be able to have this kind of lifestyle, to even make these choices, to you know, to be around with our kids, to do all of that, which is, I just feel so blessed with. So if you haven't already connected with us, whoever brought you to the page, click the button below. That'll connect. You can see our names and find us. Love you all. See you all next week. And comment below. And if you have any thoughts, suggestions of topics you would love to see us cover, let us know as well in the comments. And see you all next week.
Bye.